Hi everyone, and we're live with our webinar this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you can see me and hear me okay. If you can, please leave me a message in the chat box. Please tell me where you are in the world. Please tell me who you are. It'd be lovely to hear from you. So my name's Lorraine Dahlmeyer. I'm the director of Formula Botanica, and we're the accredited online organic cosmetic science school. We're accredited by the UK's Open and Distance Learning Quality Council. And we're now also award-winning, which is something I just wanted to say at the beginning. And just because, you know, I have to show this off. Here's the award. I don't know if you can see it, but it says Formula Botanica on there. We won the Gold Award recently at the Learning Technologies Awards for the Excellence in the Design of Learning Content category, which was a total shock, but very, made us very happy, obviously. So we teach online courses for entrepreneurs and formulators who want to learn how to make their own organic cosmetics. We focus mainly on skincare at the moment, but next year we're launching our diploma in organic hair care formulation. So we'll, excuse me, be branching out into hair care as well, which is really exciting. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. 2017 is going to be a big year for us. So tonight, I've got a special guest for you. We're speaking with Melinda Coss, and we've done 2 other webinars with Melinda this year, which have been incredibly well received. I think the first one was viewed over 1,000 times. The second one, I think, close up to 1,000 times as well. And we're hoping that tonight, you know, we'll be able to give you another fantastic webinar. The feedback we had for the other 2 were terrific. And Melinda is a natural skincare consultant and expert, and she has walked in your shoes. So she knows what it's like to start and grow your own natural skincare business. So we're going to be talking about how to win customers, how to influence people, noticed, how to get people talking about you, how to work with buyers. But most importantly, this webinar is for you. So we're not here with glossy presentations. We ditch the gloss for a lot of these webinars. We just want to, you know, keep it real. And we want to hear from you guys. So there's a chat box at the top of the screen. There should be a little sort of chat symbol. You can chat to each other in there and chat to me. I'm going to be there. And so is, well, Melinda's going to be talking most of the time, so she's not going to be in the chat box. There's also a little question mark, and you can ask your questions by typing them in there. And I'm going to interview Melinda tonight with your questions. So please just fire anything at us, and we're here to talk to you for the next hour. And Melinda runs various fabulous programs, which we're going to be talking about later. And obviously some of them may be suitable for you. So yeah, use this opportunity to really and get all the knowledge and feedback that you're looking for. I'm just going to hand over to Melinda so that she can introduce herself as well. Let's see. Here you go, Melinda.
Hi, Lorraine. Hello. Hello, everybody. Delighted to be here again, and hope you're ready for this, everyone. I've got to correct Lorraine. I am not a skincare expert. I am a skincare business expert, because to me, it all starts with the business. And I'm the person to come to if you want to make some money out of what you're doing, out of your passion. Yeah. We've got that clear.
Thank you for correcting me. Do you want to tell people a little bit more about your background and how you got to where you are today?
Sure. I was a single mum with absolutely no money, as I think there's probably a few out there. That we're a breed all on our own. And I started a soap making business in my kitchen and went on to build what became the biggest handmade soap company in the UK, selling soaps to all the supermarkets. So my main passion is to see people grow from to grow their ideas, but to grow them from not just as hobby businesses, to grow them into serious businesses, because I think that's what we deserve for all our efforts. So that's my focus.
Excellent. Okay, so guys, remember, this webinar is for you tonight. It's for you to talk to us. And I want to hear from you guys. I can already see a couple of messages in the chat box. Great to see you. Thank you for the congratulations on our award as well. Great to see you guys celebrating with us. So I suppose we better kick off the webinar with a couple of questions. And really, you know, we're talking about how to influence people. So I suppose the first question to ask you, Melinda, really is, you know, how do you get your brand noticed when you're starting out and you are making something in your kitchen or your artisan lab? You know, how do you get the message out there when you're so busy formulating at the same time? What should you do?
Okay. Well, first of all, in terms of the busyness, I think that as soon as you decide that you want to start a serious business, you have to start thinking about delegation. So you need to be able to delegate everything that you possibly can. So I've got a sticker on my computer screen that says, "Can somebody else do this?" So your housework, everything, so that you can focus on making money, because every minute that you spend working on your business rather than in your business takes you a step further towards the money. And I believe in following the money in terms of effort. So I'll talk about the influencing people a little bit further in, but I would like to say that I see that the entrepreneur's role should be to reach as many people with their products with as little effort as possible and make as much profit as possible. That is what I see. So over and beyond the passion for the product, the good intentions, the love of natural, the wish to support social enterprises, if you have a healthy financial business, that puts you in a position to fulfill all of those requirements. But you need to have a healthy business before you can do that effectively. So, I mean, people sometimes think I talk a lot about money, and I think people sometimes think that that is my main focus on life. It isn't. I've just learned that it gives you a solid platform to work from. So you need to focus on it from the beginning. Okay. So how do you influence people? Well, when you're starting out and assuming that you don't have a very big budget, the first thing that you obviously have to do, and I hope that these guys listening tonight have already been on this journey, is to identify who you're serving, who your ideal client is. And you have to be really, really precise about that. And then what you're going to make for them and why they would buy it. And in terms of why they would buy it, I think we tend to get, and thinking about descriptions for our products and thinking about how to express what our product does, I think that there is a tendency to be quite lazy about this. So just for example, if you've decided that you want to create an anti-aging product, I think many entrepreneurs will go out there and see what people are saying about anti-aging products and use that sort of copy. But you have to think much deeper about that, because your brand, you have to consider your brand to be a person with emotions and feelings, and might be a funny person, might be a sophisticated person, whatever. And you have to project that to your ideal client. So for example, why is someone looking, rather than saying someone is looking for anti-aging products, you should say to yourself, why is someone looking for anti-aging products? What is their experience of getting older? And I know for many women, probably from their 40s onwards, certainly when they get teenage kids, they start to feel that they're becoming a little bit invisible. I think that's a classic scenario. So they need to empower themselves. They need to make a presence. And you can talk to that need. Rather than saying this is anti-aging, you can say confidence building. You can say makes your skin glow, makes people see you. And that touches the question of, I'm no longer invisible, people can see me. So it's thinking down, it's drilling down on all these messages. And I think that can be really powerful and a really strong differentiator.
Okay. So we've got a few questions coming in already. There's one here from Halima in the chat box. She says she's a graduate at Formula Botanica. Hi, Halima, you made the right choice. She said that I've developed some products, but my big challenge is nobody is buying now, and I don't know what to do. So what would you recommend as the first step when you've developed your products, you put them out there on the market, and crickets? What do you do?
It's kind of a big question, because I need to know what effort you've made to selling them. But one tip is that people always like to share something that they discover. And I think for many small brands out there, that's actually, I want to tell you a little story. I was on a plane from France to England the other day, and I bought a snack box. And in that snack box, there were these little corn chips. Okay. Can you see them? Little packet of corn chips.
Oh yeah.
And they were delicious. They were delicious. And I looked at the packet and thought, oh, I must try and get some of these when I'm in London. And I turned it over, and the email address was info@hellodarlings.co.uk. So I immediately felt warm. It's a lovely treat, and it's a warm, buzzy feeling. And that this email address has spoken to me directly. And I then went on the way. I then found myself in London. I'm not a snack person, so this is out of character. But I found myself, I'm in Hampstead. There's lots of little deli type shops around. I found myself going into shops looking for the brand, And this is, I just completely picked it up randomly from a snack box. And then I went online and checked them out. And there's a couple of things that they're doing, which is very, very clever. But my point is that by talking to me directly and affectionately, I bought into the brand. And I think when you're deciding what personality your brand has, I read about them online. They're doing up there. It's a small company. They're GM free. They're all they tick all the boxes. They're building a houseboat. So I've got a picture of this couple building a houseboat, making these snacks, and I'm part of that. I'm already feel like it's very much how Innocent did it. Or you feel like you're part of that family, and it might not be. So this is about. This is a wonderful example of how to sell a simple brand, a brand of uncomplicated products. And something else that interested me, on their website, you can't buy a packet of crisps online, but they treat their shops and their retail customers the same. So they're selling snacks by the case. So you can go on and you can buy 20, which means an individual can do that. Or a shop, more importantly, you can directly reach shops without them feeling that they've got all the hassle of having to see you, having to see a rep. They can just go online and order what they need. And I thought that was, I don't know how many other companies are doing it, but with simple skincare products, I think that is actually a really nice model.
Okay.
So how do you do it? I don't know how you're trying to sell. I don't know what effort you've put into it. I don't know what your website looks like. All this is about projecting your personality. And another thing that I'm cutting it so much on this subject. Another really powerful tool, I think, is to form partnerships. And forming partnerships by thinking out the box. So what you want to do is identify companies that might identify with your brand. So it might be a clothing company, it might be a hospitality company, it could be anybody, but companies that are already out there and that have already got clout and reach to customers. And if you can get them to adopt you, they will do most of the work promoting you. So I'm sorry, back to the corn. They'd got themselves on Ryanair. Now, they probably made no money out of that deal. But as a result, as I started off, you've got to reach as many people as possible doing as little work as possible. So just having pulled off that deal means that they're suddenly visible to millions and thousands of people.
Okay. Right, so I'm just answering a few questions in the chat box because we're having a few technical difficulties. If anyone is having any technical difficulties, please just hit the refresh button on your browser and hopefully it should all keep going. We do live in deepest, darkest England, so we do have a few dodgy internet connections at times, but hopefully everything will be okay for the webinar. Right, well, we've had quite a few questions come in already. Interestingly, you mentioned obviously delegation, which is something I'm terrible at.
We're talking about it.
Yes, we were just talking about this before the webinar started. 2017 is going to be my year of delegation. But Gabriella here says, what happens when you don't have anyone to delegate to? What should you do?
Well, you have millions of freelance agencies out there. I mean, if you can't delegate the hands-on work, you can delegate the hands-off work. So your best bet is to start with a list of things that you can delegate without having Ideal Joe or Ideal Mary sitting by your side. And it could be as simple as getting newsletters written, or getting your social media done, or getting somebody to wrap your products for you. A mum, I'm very into single mums, you've probably noticed. There are a lot of freelance agencies online that can help you with the techie stuff and the research stuff and the compilation and data building stuff. People per hour, Hire My Mom. There's loads and loads of them out there. You can probably throw in a few, Lorraine, as well. You have to find the right one. You have to filter it down and find the right one, because you can end up with a difficult partner there. But housework, I mean, honestly, the stuff that we spend our time doing, because we feel guilty and because we feel that that's what we should be doing, is ridiculous when you think what you could do if you were using that time to promote your business.
No, it's so true. And when I took over Formula Botanica, and we were teeny tiny at the time, the first thing I did was go out and find an IT person to work with me. And he's our IT manager now, and we've worked together for 5 years. You need to find people to help you, because we're not human octopi. We can't do everything at once. There's a question here from Jane, which is a question that I hear quite a few times in the groups around us, actually. She said, how do you feel about choosing a brand name? Because there are so many different names out there, many already taken, of course. What should you do when you're choosing a name? Should you use your own name? Should you use something that sounds cute? What is your recommendation?
Well, I think the most important thing about a name is that it should be easy to spell. So in other words, you write it like it sounds. It should be memorable, so it shouldn't be too long. It should be generic. So I personally don't like names that suggest that it's a beauty range. So something Botanica, well, Formula Botanica, all right. You get away with that one. But I don't like naturals, and a lot of people use them because I think it's become pretty run of the mill. And I think people would remember short names. Your issue is often that you can't get the website for a short, Jojo or Momo or whatever. You can't get the website. But again, interestingly, back to these guys, this is actually Chilton Foods, but all their promotion stuff and their branding is under the name Darling. So quite interesting that they've managed to use that as a front and yet have a pretty basic name as their main company name. So there's ways around it. So your name should also, I started by saying your brand needs a personality. So it can reflect the personality of the company. Innocent is a classic name for innocent fruit drinks, whatever, says it all. One of my favorites is a company run by some friends of mine, a fashion company called Toast. And toast means, the suggestion of the word toast is breakfast, laid back, whatever. But it's also celebration and sophistication, because you toast people. So you can be clever. There is a book called Hello, My Name is Awesome, which is worth a read. I don't agree with everything in it, but it's a good starting point.
Okay, good advice. And go out and read more on the topic as well, obviously. Or join Melinda's program, which we'll be talking about later.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here's a question from Louisa. She says, do you think it's possible to create a successful, profitable skincare business selling directly online and at events, but not going through retailers? And I'm guessing you probably have quite a strong opinion on this one.
Well, no, look, my experience is going through retailers, and I think the world is changing dramatically, but up until this point, my view has been very much that if you are in a retail flagship store, and this is also to some degree about this partnership thing, if you're seen in Harrods, which is a sort of the prestige store in the UK, you are identified as a sophisticated must-have brand. So it acts, a retailer can act as a shop window for you. But as I say again, that idea of selling online wholesale so that small shops can actually buy from you with no hassle, I think could be a way to go forward. You know, I love retailers, and I think they're having a really, really hard time. And I love the idea of having my brand represented by a good retailer. But of course, online has become so brilliant, but it is a science. You can't just put up a website or put up hang out a few Facebook ads and expect that the world is gonna come to you. It really is a big learning curve, and you need to either get someone that can do it for you, or do some courses on social media and really understand this, because it's a science without any doubt, as you've taught me, Lorraine.
Well, it is. And you know what, I specialize in digital marketing nowadays because it is in a whole subject in itself. And if you do want to sell online, I do recommend that you do delve into learning how to market online, because it is a huge beast of a topic, and you can't just expect to put up a website and instantly sell. I mean, where we are with Formula Botanica, it's taken us 4 years to get here, and even now we work practically 24/7. So it's not easy by any stretch of the imagination. And I know there is this perception out there that once you have a website, it will all be fairly easy, but this will always get you a much better rapport with your customer. Okay, lots of questions coming in. Please remember to use the question mark, guys, because questions do have a tendency of getting lost in the chat box. We've got one here from Mary, tying into what you were just talking about. She says, so how can we find stores, spas, retailers that are a good match for our products, and how should we then approach them?
Okay. Interestingly, I interviewed on the new course that I'm doing. I've done quite a lot of expert interviews, and I interviewed someone, did a recorded interview with a woman who was my supermarket buyer, and she's also worked for Sainsbury's and Superdrug, and she's like the key beauty buyer for those companies. And she came up with some really interesting things. One of the things she said was that first of all, you need to research who. There's a lot of work involved. The question like that makes me ask, how much legwork have you done? How much Googling have you done? How many directories have you looked at? Because you need to really research. It's how many magazines are you reading to see where people are going and buying their stuff. But one of the things she said was you need to research the retailer's consumer. So before you go to a store, you need to know who their customer is. And by going to, if it was a chain of stores, what you want to do is to go into their flagship store, their main store, look at the products on the shelf, and that should give you a pretty good idea of who they're targeting. It's often broken down into sections, but you should be able to draw a picture from that as to who they're targeting and assess whether or not your brand is going to fit in. She said you should also research their pricing strategy. And I wasn't quite clear how you can do that without asking, but then you could always ask. And she suggested that you send in samples. Not only you have to identify who the buyer is by name, but you shouldn't only send them into the buyer. You should send them into her boss. And if the shop or store is working with a PR agency, you should also send samples to their PR agency, because often the PR agency will go to the buyers and say, have you seen this? It's a feather in their cap if they come up with a brilliant product. Or the boss will come down to the buyer and say, have you seen this? Now, I was slightly concerned about that, because I said, if you send to a buyer and then to her boss, does she not feel that you're going over her head? And her response was, no, providing she's had it as well. So you're reinforcing the message. You're getting it in front of people and you're reinforcing it constantly. But you need to be sure that your message is right for that store. And that's about legwork.
Okay. Well, tying into that question, we've got a couple here from Lucy. And she said, hi, Lucy. She says, what should a healthy margin be? And is wholesale usually 2.5 times your cost price, or should I be negotiating for more?
2.5 times. Okay, so my formula for pricing is you take the cost of your ingredients and your labor, all your labor, including sticking tape on packages, and you add 70%, and that should be the price to to a shop your wholesale or trade price. Your retailer will then double that and add any sales tax. And that end price, that gives you your retail price, and that retail price is the price you should be selling online for. So you're making 70% doubled to get to retail.
Okay.
Now, however, it's important that before you cost your products, you make decisions about your route to market. And these are quite complex decisions. And we've already had a couple of questions about this. How am I going to get into the shops? How am I going to actually sell? So you have to decide if you're primarily going to be an online company, if you want to sell to big stores, big supermarkets, where your margins are going to be squeezed, but you're going to have the opportunity to sell much more volume. And a lot of this is linked to the volume of product that you can make, whether you're contract manufacturing, whether it gets cheaper the more you buy. Because if you're making it yourself, you can never reduce your labor costs. Whereas if you've gone to a contract manufacturer, the more you make, the less it will cost you per unit. So if you've got to decide if you want to work through a distributor, if you're thinking of exporting, because all these things will impact your margin. And 70% usually allows you enough to maybe give a distributor 30% of that if you're going to sell in another country. But if you've worked all this out before you go out there, you've got margin to do all these things. If you go out there saying, oh, this isn't worth an awful lot, I'm happy with what I can get, and you haven't done your costings properly, if a big opportunity does come your way, you're stymied because you haven't got the margin to offer retailers. And as I said in the last webinar, good business is where everybody makes money. So all your trading partners, it should be as important to you as it is to them that they make profit.
Absolutely. And I think that's great advice, because you are in partnership with them. And that's what you said earlier as well. You're forming partnerships and relationships with people, and you want them to continue for a long time, don't you? You want your business to be successful, and you can only do that by getting people on board. One of
the things, just talking about partnerships again, because it's not just retail partnerships, but I just posted something in my business group that I picked up from one of the US journals. That Pantone, who, I don't know if you're familiar with Pantone. Pantone are the color people, and every designer in the world knows what Pantone is. And actually designers are very much your key market because they're precious usually. But they have adopted a nail cosmetic company to go in partnership with their color for 2017, which is a particular shade of green. And they're using green with green tones down red skin. So this small company now has all the clout of Pantone to get their name out there. And that's what I meant by partnerships. So it might be flowers. You might be able to link with a young, hot young designer, clothes designer, and get your product allied with them, so that this is all about endorsements. We all know the power of celebrity endorsements, but there are other sorts of endorsements that you can get which are more subtle and can get you out there. Yes,
absolutely. And by the way, green, great colour for 2017. Pantone chose well, since those are our colours. I also put that on the Formula Botanica page this week. There's a question from Joy tying into the partnership question. She says, whenever you form a partnership, will this have an implication on your finances, on the percentages? Will they have to take a financial percentage of what you're getting? I'm assuming here that a partnership is not free, but is that always the case, Melinda? What do you think?
Well, partnerships can work in lots of different ways. I mean, it might be that they are selling a handbag, let's say, and it might be that every body that buys a handbag gets a tube of your hand cream in it. And it might be that every 20 people that buy a hand cream get a handbag. So it can work mutually depending on what the product is. It can be quite simple in terms of affiliation. So any orders that come to you through any campaign that they do, you're paying a percentage on. But as I just spelt out, providing you've done a marketing plan and you understand your route to market, and if those sort of promotions fall into your route to market, you should have allowed for that percentage anyway. And I you know, when you look, giving away product is your cheapest form of promotion, but sometimes you mustn't be afraid to give away money either, because it can come back tenfold.
Absolutely.
And if you think that only a few years ago we were spending, you know, cosmetics companies were spending hundreds of thousands and thousands of pounds having glossy ads in magazines, which are now completely pointless. You know, we don't have to do any of that. Or you were spending fortunes investing in a retail shop. Now you've got online, you don't have any of that investment. So if you want to run a good business, you've got to be prepared to invest in it. And that's part of your marketing investment.
Yeah. Okay. Got loads of questions here. I'm just trying to pick the best ones to sort of go with what we're talking about. But there's one here from Mavis, which goes off in a slightly different direction. She says, how crucial is it to list your full list of ingredients on your website, on your online shop? And she says, if you list everything, does it not make your products vulnerable for copying by others? And this is not the first time I've heard this. I mean, I have an opinion on this, but I'm interested to hear what you think, Melinda.
Okay. I don't actually worry about people copying anything at all, because if you've done your work properly from the beginning, and this is what I teach, so this is the heart of you know, you have to be clear about who you are. You have to be able to get who you are out there. And once you're out there, nobody wants an inferior brand. They want you. Yeah, they want the number one. They want this brand that they've fallen in love with and they love, and they're going to buy it and they're going to stay loyal to you. They don't want a cheaper substitute. You know, so I don't worry about that. I think whether or not you list your ingredients depends also to some extent on what your marketing message is. So if your marketing message is really authentic, natural, sustainable, whatever, non-allergic, whatever, then it's very, very important that you list all your ingredients, that you are seen to be transparent. If your message is more about mystique, subtle, sophistication, beauty, sexy, whatever, then it might not be necessary. So it depends on your message.
Okay. One thing I would add to that is that most consumers of natural and organic skincare products are very ingredient savvy, and they want to know what's in the products before they buy them. And also beauty bloggers do as well. So if you want to form partnerships with beauty bloggers, they'll want to know what's in your products. And let me tell you, as someone who has spent a lot of time combing the internet trying to find ingredients, there is nothing more infuriating than not being able to find what's in a product. And I see it a lot with the big brands, and they don't put it on their website. And then I think, I don't trust you. What are you hiding? So just think about how consumers will view that if you don't put your ingredients up.
Yeah. But Mavis, if they want to, was it Mavis?
Yes. Yes.
If they want to copy you, it's a compliment. Don't worry about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, Mavis also asked about the percentage of organic ingredients you need in order to call your product organic, and that depends entirely on where you are in the world and what organic standards you're working with. So yes, it depends on which country you're in. If you're in the USA, which I think you might be, then you have to look at what the USDA organic program says. And I think it's a minimum of 70%, but there are different sort of categories. Okay. So here's a long one from Mark. He says, I have a contract manufacturer that manufactures my products, my formulas, but it seems as if I spend all my time babysitting them to get answers about the status of my production. There's about a 2 to 3 month lead time on my products. Is that normal? How should I get around it?
Okay.
Hang on. He also says it's difficult to find a good, reputable contract manufacturer to make my products to my specifications. And that's not the first time I've heard this from someone, Mark. So I can't just switch to another. So how do I get a better response from them regarding my orders?
Okay. Interestingly, another interview that I did for my course was with a key contract manufacturer, and I threw all these questions at him because I know it is so frustrating for a lot of my clients when they start that journey. And they opened my eyes about a few things too. And one of the things they said was, you know, a new company comes to us and says, I've got a dream, you know, they're brand new, they want to get their cosmetic products made. He says, what we actually want to hear is, I've got a business. So these people receive requests for contract manufacturing quotes from dozens and dozens of potential clients a week. And there might be 2 that are serious enough or able to take the volumes that they have to commit to make it worth their while. And every journey that they go on with a client, they are investing time, manpower, and money into. So I'm sorry, but this is a wake-up call. It isn't about you finding the contract manufacturer to go to. It's about a contract manufacturer who is good accepting you. All right, so they have the power. Yes, there are only a few. They are nearly all the good ones, and the ones that do short runs are all oversubscribed. So this could be the perfect message to start your own contract manufacturing company. But beyond that, yes, they're bad communicators. The only way to deal with it is to be totally and utterly professional. Don't nag. Get your language right. Get your communications right. Understand, and this is something else that is really, really important in terms of buyers, in terms of everybody that you're going to deal with. Treat people as if they're friends. Understand them. Another thing Helen said to me was, brands come to us, they sit with me, and all they do is talk about their product. And immediately they do that, I know I'm not going to buy them, because I need to, Helen's the supermarket buyer, I need to be able to build a relationship with the businesses that I work with, and B, I need to feel that they have an understanding of my situation and my needs and my predicament and my customers' needs. So we are all quite naturally, totally obsessed with our own products. Go into any business relationship gaining an understanding of the problems that your partner is going through, and try and make it less for them.
Okay.
Does that answer that?
I think so, yes. Right, here's one from Sharon. She says, I feel ready to take my organic soap making and general health products business to the next level, open up a shop, stock it with my own products as well as organic healthcare products from other trusted brands. What should I be doing or looking out for? And she says she has a couple of customers potentially lined up in Kenya, South Africa, I think Sharon's in Ghana, who are very keen to begin working with her. And so she's not entirely sure where to start, really. What sort of advice would you give Sharon in terms of
with Sharon, it sounds, I don't know what the situation is in Ghana, whether you could successfully run a retail shop. You need to know that. You need to find out. You need to look at other small businesses that are opening up. Talk to the owners, see how they're doing it. You're in Ghana, so you have some wonderful natural resources there. You've got your shea butter. You could look at exporting key ingredients. You have to decide what you want to do, and you have to base that on research that you do in your region. These aren't questions that can just be answered universally. It's very much about the situation that you are in, and the environment that you're in, and what the trading environment is like.
Okay, so coming back to the sort of general topic of the webinar, I've got tons of questions, but I just want to ask you one as well. We're talking about winning customers, we're talking about influencing people. How do you get people talking about your brand? And I know you touched on elements of this, but
yes. Well, the other thing that's really, really interesting, and these are all little tricks, because marketing is very, very creative, and you've got to be very creative to do it. But people like to share things. They like to share good news. They like to share interesting stories. Life today is about social currency. So if you give someone something interesting or quirky to talk about, they will pass it on. And that, I passed on this corn because of that silly message. It can be a silly thing. Like their website was "Hello, darling." I love it, So it can be as simple as that. There was I was reading about a company that sold soft drinks in the US, and they opened every time you opened the lid, there was a fact in there, like something out of the Guinness Book of Records or some sort of quirky fact. And everybody wanted to buy these to open the lid to see what the, what the fun comment was. So it could be something like that. So I was saying also that your brand needs to talk to people. It needs to be a personality. Now, one way of doing that also is, through endorsements. If it's linked to a celebrity or whatever, then that's becoming, endorsements are becoming more and more important. And I had an idea which I wrote down here. What was it, of a possible partnership? Yeah. So simplicity. Let's just say that you're doing a brand that is incredibly simple and basic, which is quite where it's going at the moment. People are getting a bit bored with fuss. So I wrote down, fast track to beauty, get an Olympian or a famous sports person to be the face behind your brand. And they're not as expensive as film stars, but the fast track. So it's about triggers as well. So whenever you think of something being simple and quick, the expression fast track might come in, and then you could take that to the next thing as a face that represents that. So you need to think creatively about how you can express your brand in images, and create triggers. I mean, the other story, classic, is the Kit Kat advert, where, everybody familiar with Kit Kat chocolate bars. And they had a big campaign some years ago, which was take a break, take a Kit Kat. So the triggers were that every time someone had a coffee break, the image of a Kit Kat would come into their mind. And later on, they did one which was coffee and Kit Kat. So that the idea was to embed this concept that every time you pick up a cup of coffee, you remember the ad and you think of a Kit Kat. So, you don't have to be, these are broad, very broad products, but you can, create a glow, create a smile, create I don't know, that find a word or an expression or a feeling or a symbol or a face that people will connect with your brand and that people will see in their everyday lives. It might be something to do with rain, or I'm not going to do this. I'll start creating all sorts of brands here, but you need to get a buzz. So you need something for people to share and talk about. The other thing is people want to give back. So if you give somebody something, they are more likely to buy your product when they need that product because they've taken something from you. Human nature is reciprocal. We don't like taking without returning. Yeah. So that's another little message there for you to think about. And also the buyer likes to feel special. So if you can create a situation where the buyer feels that they are getting something special, perhaps for a short period of time, that can be, or something extra, something that not everybody else gets, that can be hugely powerful as well. That can be used in your promotions.
Okay. Wow. Melinda got really creative on this there. I hope you're not all going to run off and create brands around rain and simple skincare.
Lots of Olympians running around.
And with Olympians, exactly. I'm going to get to everyone's questions tonight, by the way. There are so many. Here's one from Jennifer. She says, how do you go about getting your products reviewed before going to market?
Oh, we had this last time. Send them in. Write a compelling letter. Be nice. Introduce yourself. Show concern for the person that you're sending them to and their busy schedule and what have you. Present them in an original way. I've covered all this. Just don't, nothing is as simple as you think it is. Think of a solution and then go down a level. So I'm going to send these samples in a black box because that's attractive. So what? Well, underneath that black box, there's going to be tissue paper and there's going to be a personal message from me. So what? Underneath that tissue paper, there's going to be lots of free samples in there as well, which I've picked out personally for that particular person. So what? So you see, each time you come up with something, drill down and see if you could add a bit more value to your product. Yeah.
Okay. And obviously Melinda will be covering a lot more of this in her upcoming skincare business masterclass as well, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Some questions from Doreen, who also said she's really glad her first language isn't English, because otherwise every time she has a break she'd be thinking of Kit Kats. Amuse me. She said, how many products should I start with? And this is not, I hear this question a lot from other people as well, should I have 10 face creams? How many lines should I have? How big should I take it? What's the best range of numbers I can start with, she says. What's your answer to that?
Well, I mean, how much money have you got? The most economic answer and the most sensible answer to that is start with one hero product, but it's got to be a pretty strong product, with a pretty strong message. If you don't think you could get away with it, I don't know what you want to produce. I would never start with more than 5 products. It's simply too expensive for you to take a risk with. 5 is enough to create some impact on a shelf. It's enough maybe to put on a point of sale stand. And it's probably just about within budget, but you've got to consider that I talk pounds, I'm afraid here. If you want to translate into dollars or yen or anything, I reckon it costs about £2,000 to get one product to market. That's if you're formulating yourself. So this stuff can mount up. And I also believe that it's your brand that's going to sell you, not your product. So all this stuff I've talked about earlier, I think is 10 times more important than your product. Sorry, but in terms of selling, I really do think meeting people's needs. I take it for granted that you have wonderful skincare products. My concern is that there are a lot of wonderful skincare products out there, especially when it comes to naturals, because they're so accessible. So spend your money on your brand and your creativity rather than on creating a large range of products.
Okay, good advice. Let's see, Ola here says, and again, this is a question I've heard many times, how do you juggle a full-time job with launching a skincare brand? And I suppose you can fill in the blanks there. How do you kids with launching a skincare brand? How do you juggle?
We've both done that, Lorraine, haven't we? I think we had 3 of us on the webinar rehearsal the other day with your 2 kids.
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to do something badly enough, and if it is important enough to you, you will find the time to do it. Okay, that's a sweeping statement. Sounds very glib, but I've single mum, 3 kids. I've done it, so it can be done. The best and the easiest thing for you to do is to become incredibly precious about your time. So start calendaring, fill in slots as far as you possibly can. And I would actually write down what you do in a week, like half hour by half hour, and then visit it. And you will be amazed at the time you can save by actually ordering that. The thing, especially if you're like me, and people ask me where I live these days, and it's Facebook, and it's really painful to have to limit it to just looking at it at certain times of the day, just checking my emails at certain times of the day. But it becomes crucial when you're juggling. But organize your time on a calendar, look at what you're really spending it on, delegate as much as you possibly can. The first thing you have to do though, before all this, is make a decision that this business is what you want and that you're going to go for it and put the effort that it takes into it, because without the work, you will not get there.
Yes, I totally agree. You have to be totally driven. And when I took over Formula Botanica, I had an 8-month-old baby, and I was sort of doing the handover, breastfeeding, sort of doing legal documents. And it was mad. But if you really want it, you'll go for it, and you'll find a way of doing it. And that's the exciting part of it. But yes, you are going to give up part of your life for a while until things.
A lot more of your life than if you had a job.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
This gives you a future.
Yeah, absolutely. I work harder now than I have ever worked before, and I held really high-profile jobs all around the world before I did this. Okay,
I've got to say one thing on my masterclass that I intend to do is to say that the word can't or haven't got time is forbidden. Absolutely forbidden.
Yeah. Which I think is something I also said in the interview you did with me in the masterclass. I can't.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Jane, I love this. Jane knows how just exactly how to go right for the jugular. She says, I feel listening to your webinars that you need to decide upfront whether or not you want to be a large supplier to sell to stores or go for something smaller volume. Is that correct? How do you feel about that?
I think you need to decide right from the beginning how much money you want to make and how much money you need to make your time and the investment of your time, money and effort worth it to you. So, you know, a lot of any business starts with what you want out of it. And I'm not sitting here saying, you've got to work yourself to death, you've got to do this, you've got to sell to the big boys, you've got to make £1 million. I don't care what you do. You know, what I care about is that you know what you want. And the first thing you should do is decide what you want and then find the most effective way to get there and the easiest way to get there. So to answer that question, not necessarily, depends what you want.
Okay. Right. I'm going to try and fit in a few more questions before we tell everyone about your new program. Christina, she says, what do you think about bloggers? Because many are paid to talk or talk about or recommend products. Do you think it's worth investing some money in beauty bloggers or not? And I can't remember, were you there for the talk with Anna Green at our conference, Melinda? Were you still there?
Was. Yes.
Okay. So what's your opinion on beauty bloggers who ask for payment?
Bloggers have huge influence and it's growing daily. And I think you have to be careful that these bloggers that request money from you or product from you are substantial and have got great followings and are bona fide, because a lot of people will come to you saying that they're bloggers and actually have a following of about 4 requesting free product. But I think there are a number of excellent bloggers out there who have great influence. So yes, they're worth investing in.
Interestingly, Christina's just followed up in the chat box and she says, I'm concerned about that paying them to talk about your product could then be perceived as almost cheating your potential customers because it's sort of a hidden, disguised publicity. Do you agree with that?
How confident are you that your products are wonderful?
Presumably quite confident, I would hope.
Well then what money is just an energy that helps the world go round. If you think that you're defrauding somebody by paying somebody to promote your products because you know your products are no good, then obviously that's bad news. But you could be paying somebody to, look at it this way, if you're paying somebody to expose your products to all these people that really need them and wouldn't find them otherwise, then you're doing them a great favor. You're not defrauding them in any way. Money is not a dirty word. Money is a currency that everybody needs. And that needs to be exchanged in the whole big game of life here.
It's not the first time I've heard you say that. But yeah, I suppose fair enough, absolutely. Okay, I'm going to fit in one final question from Marlene. She says, would you recommend sending samples to retail owners, spas, etc. to try? Is this effective, or is it better to have a face-to-face meeting with them? Away if I'm sending them samples?
I think that you should contact them. I think that you should do a lead up to, I don't think you should just send samples out the blue to somebody. I think that you should send them a series of visual emails, videos, whatever, get them to your Facebook page, warm them up with a social media campaign. The one question that retailers, spas, whatever, are going to ask you is, where is this sold? They're going to want to know that there is already some buzz around the product, and that could be a social media campaign. Once you've warmed them up, you should then send product in, and you should then follow up. Tell them when you send product in that you're going to follow up by phone, and then follow up by phone. Okay. But yes, not willy-nilly. I wouldn't send product out willy-nilly. You should choose, you know, I think we go at this thinking we want to sell as many products as possible to as many people as possible, and that's really not the way to do it. The way to do it is to identify companies, retailers that you want to partner with, and invest in that partnership and invest in that selling exercise and understand their predicaments, I said before, understand all the people that they reach, and then treat them as friends, as you would a friend, and you're giving them something that they will be successful with, and they're buying from you something that will make you successful. And that's how the whole roundabout works.
Okay. And on that note, we've been talking for about 50 minutes. So I think we should tell everyone a bit about your new program. Do you want to run us through what it is and how it's called, and exactly what you're doing?
Sure. Well, it's my first, because everybody's been, I do a one-to-one program, my VIP program, which I've been running now for 6 or 7 years, working one-to-one with entrepreneurs. That's my 16-week program, which has been wonderful, and I've loved it to bits. But I decided that it was time to do a group program, which is basically going to be 12 webinars with phone-in question and answer sessions. There's going to be very strict homework assignments to do every week. So it's about, what I want to do is I want to help people to identify what they want. It's quite a bit of mindset stuff in it. Identify who their ideal client is, identify what their range should be, work out their route to market, work out how to cost effectively, work out how to promote effectively, how to do retail presentations, business plans, raise funds, all the pieces along the way. And it's a group of people. Now, I've got to say, it's been well received so far. And we're closing the doors on the 20th of December for the program. What I've also done is I've interviewed key people in the industry, including Lorraine, of course, who I great pleasure in me interviewing her for a change. But there's contract manufacturer, a branding specialist, a social media specialist, who else? Karen Gilbert, who's a perfuming specialist, has also done an interview. There's an interview on setting up a social enterprise for those that might be interested in wanting to help people, and the best and most effective way to do that. So it's a real boot camp. It runs over 24 weeks. The webinars are every 2 weeks. You've probably got to invest about 4 hours every 2 weeks in it to get the most out of it. But the idea is to make you accountable, to move you forward, and to get you to create something solid, with no excuses. No more excuses.
Okay, yeah. And I've just put up the link to your new program as well. And just in case the tech isn't working, I'm not entirely sure, but I've also put it in the chat box. So if you click on that, it will take you straight through to Melinda's new program, the Ultimate Skincare Business Masterclass, which obviously you guys should go and check out, because I've only heard fantastic things from the people who work with Melinda, and we wouldn't be hosting this webinar tonight if we didn't think that Melinda was fantastic. So definitely go for it, guys. Go and have a look at it. Check out the website. Go check out the interviews. I mean, we know many of the people that Melinda's interviewed as well, and they're all really knowledgeable experts who are happy to pass on their expertise to you.
Rachel Whitaker, I forgot about Rachel Whitaker.
Yes.
Talk about logistics, which is really, really important as well. So it's a no-nonsense thing. I am going to, because of the group, there's been so many people on here, my goodness. I am going to reopen our offer of a 25% discount for just 3 days. So we're going to close this on, where are we now? Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday night, the offer will be closed. But if they go through your link, they will get the 25% discount for the next 3 days. We have been offering a discovery call. Unfortunately, I won't be able to do one for this because I'm going to be on a plane to Australia tomorrow. So I'll drop that bomb and then I'm flying to the other side of the world. But I do hope some of you join. We've got some great people. I've got people from China, India, Malaysia, UK, Canada, all over the world. It's really, really exciting. So
that's great.
All these people I'm going to have to shout at.
So what's the normal price and what's the discounted price?
The normal price is £2,000. So this will be £1,500.
All right, well, that's a fantastic offer. So, I mean, 25% off for the next 3 days only. You want to make sure that you can grab that. And that's obviously with the Formula Botanica code, which is now in the offer box that you can click on. Okay, Well, on that note, I think we'd probably better wrap up. One thing I want to say is that obviously it's almost Christmas. So I hope you guys have a fantastic holiday season wherever you are in the world if you celebrate Christmas. We'll be back next year with a few webinars, and I'm sure hopefully with Melinda again. She'll come and be a special guest for us. Want to mention, we put something up on our Facebook page the other day about this. Formula Botanica is moving over onto a term time system next year, and nothing's going to change for existing students, but for future students, people who want to enroll, we're going to only open enrollment at set times of the year because we're just totally overwhelmed at the moment and we can't handle it all year round. So we're going to have a winter term, a summer school and an autumn term, and we'll be telling people more about this on our mailing list over the coming weeks. But at the end of January, we'll open up the winter term, and then after that, the shutters come down and we're going to close enrollment on all of our courses for a period of months. So if you want to make the most of the fact that they're open all year round, you should better go for it now, basically, is what I'm saying. So there's going to be a lot of big changes at Formula Botanica next year. So keep tuned and keep watching what we're doing. And on that note, I'm going to just hand over to you again, Melinda, to say goodbye. Thank you very much for your time this evening, for sharing all of your knowledge again. I mean, we've had, I think, several hundred people on, so I hope that it's been well received, and I'm just going to hand over to you now.
Lovely to talk to you. Lovely. Good luck all you guys out there, and I do hope I get to work with some of you, and keep at it, because you can do it. You can make it work.
Absolutely, and we do see people make it work all the time, which is really exciting. So we're here to try and help you get kick-started as well with the skincare business of your dreams. So thank you very much for attending the webinar. There will be a replay. We're going to send it out tomorrow. It will be time limited unless you're a Formula Botanica student, in which case you'll have access to it in your webinar library with all the other webinars we did with Melinda as well. So yes, thank you very much for joining us this evening, and have a great rest of the day wherever you are in the world. Bye.
Yeah, happy holidays. Happy holidays, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.